they're really wondering what's happening, my brother.
I think inaitwa pandemonium.
You guys, there's pandemonium, confusion, and discombobulation.
Sasa unakuja unapiga yako juu yangu. Si wote yangu, acha pandemonium nitawale kwanza.
You guys wanasema hii ni show gani na imetoka wapi na hawa ni kina nani?
Usijali watatambua leo.
You guys, maze. If you want to see who these guys are, maybe you want to put a face to the discombobulation. Go to www.rgk.co.ke and you'll not only be able to hear us, you'll also be able to see us.
And listen guys, we're global, so as I said, wherever you are, hata kama uko Mars, remember we are live on TuneIn and we are live on Radio Garden, and you can go there and you can listen to us, guys. So remember guys, we need feedback from you. You guys need to talk to us too, because it's very lonely in the studio. We're just speaking. We need you guys to tell us how you're feeling. Are you enjoying the show? How's the music? How are the vibes? So remember, the social media handle for Instagram, X and TikTok is Radio Gen KE. And for my vintage guys, as I said, kama umeona presidential terms 10 tafadhali utongo wa Facebook. The handle is Radio Generation.
You guys must say it's congratulations, your first hour on radio is done.
Thank you so much.
Now we are into our second hour, and I'm excited about this part. Because this is what we call the wind down open mic. And what we're doing with this hour is we're just going to have continuous and uninterrupted conversation. You know, the world is moving away from, you know, it's evolving. People are enjoying longer conversations. People want to hear, not only do they want to hear you on radio or on any media, they also want to get to know who you are. And the way we're going to know each other is through the stories we're going to be sharing on the open mic hour. You know, we'll be having conversations with Bashir right here in studio, but we'll also be bringing in guests. So we'll have brilliant times ahead. We have some dope guests lined up for tomorrow. But for today, it's just me, you, and Bashir. And today, the topic that I have, you know, that I thought of, and I remember sharing it with you during the day, is something very close to my heart. I was wondering, what do I have in common with this LL Cool B character? Umeambia watu unaitwa LL Cool B.
Sasa ilikuwa surprise, lakini ushairuena.
Unveil your jina.
No, yeye ilikuwa ya kesho. Wao wapeleka pole pole. Sasa niwapige na Halaiki leo alafu kesho niwaangushie LL Cool B.
All right. At least nimewapatia a preview. So I'm here with Bashir, and the one thing we have in common, I am a 43-year-old gentleman.
Okay.
You
don't look a day over 44 actually.
You guy, my white hairs inanipiga chenga, you guy. You guy ningepigwa na makarao wakifikiria mimi Gen Z. But they see my beard and say, pole mzee.
Ngepudi waambie wazee nimetoka Nare. Ndio napiga na sheng ya zamani. Sasa mimi ni msodi.
Cheki usinipige ofisa, mimi ni msodi sana. So I'm turning 44 this year. How old are you? If you want to share.
I just turned 28 actually this month.
Oh, okay. Eish, that's quite a gap, huh?
I'm pushing 30 actually. This is a very serious age.
So are you turning 28 this year?
I already turned 28.
Oh, okay.
So I'm turning 29, let's say.
Oh, okay. So I was wondering what one of the things that we have in common with my brother over here, Bashir, who's a very brilliant guy.
Thank you.
Is that both of us don't have dads, right?
Okay,
si ati tulizaliwa kama Yesu. You know, somebody can, hey, hii imekuwa cult. So, your dad passed on something.
My dad passed on actually when I was 21. So around the same time I started doing comedy. That is the time my dad died. Ni kama kuaminia hii career ya comedy.
You guys, remember my dark joke na mapema?
No. I'm kidding. I miss him. Yeah, but I lost my dad when I was 20. It's been 7 years. So around I think 2018, 2019, around there.
Oh, okay. I also lost my dad in 2018. He passed on. He was 74 at the time. He was actually in your hometown of Eldoret. So alikuwa pale Eldoret, I think Eldoret General. I think that's the hospital. Actually, something interesting happened. The week before, some person decided to attack my mother who was harvesting. Just some crazy guy who came in Rwandeti. So I attack Maze, and she really got hurt. Because guy attacked her with a machete, akamkata, and then now my dad in his ailment kasema wacha akimbie ushago. So kwenda ushago kumbe mazee ilikuwa the last trip, because while they were there my mom recovered thankfully, but my dad you know went on a different trajectory. You know, my mom had to dash him to Eldoret from Londeti with my little brother, and they thought he'll make it, but he didn't. But I was discussing this with Bashir earlier.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I said was, at least, I'm not saying I'm happy, or, I'm just saying, he passed on when I'm a grown up, basically. 6 years ago, I was like 30. Mathematics.
Unahesabu vidole ni 37 jamani.
Maths is not my area, you guys.
Ndio maana correct.
Mwalimu wa maths. You guys, Mazi. So I was 37 years old. So today's topic, I was basically trying to segue you into the topic of the day. The topic is life without him. And him is our parents. When dad ain't there.
And actually, by the way, I have a statistic for you. Like in Kenya, 45% of children in Kenya live in a single parent household. And actually,
what percent?
45%. 45% of children in Kenya live in a single parent household.
That's a large number.
And here's the kicker, with the father typically being the absent parent. So that means a significant portion of Kenyan population grows up without a consistent father figure in their lives.
Did you? What was? I'm very curious, and this show is just for me, to be honest. How are those? What was the transition like? Was your dad very present in your life before he passed on?
Yeah, he was my number one fan, man. He was very supportive. He like. If you talk to my siblings, like, wangesema I was the golden child, like, yeah, I was, because I was the one who was passing exams, I don't need to brag, but I'm excellent, I was when it comes to academic, and I think that's one metric that dads and even parents up to now, like an African home, ule mtoto mwenye anapita mtihani, that is the favorite kid.
So
mimi nilikuwa academia, mimi nilikuwa mnoma sana. So siadi nilikuwa bado mimi ni mnoma, but I was my dad's favorite kid, child basically. And losing him was very hard, honestly, and especially at that age.
So you are 21 years old.
I was 21, yeah.
Were you in Campo?
I was in Campo. I think probably I was in like second year or something.
So what happened to your school fees?
My school fees, luckily for me, I was government sponsored because nilikuwa nimepita KCSE. And so I think my fee was like 30 Gs a year, which I think at some point became a problem also, because my dad was like the pillar of the family. And I'm not just saying our family, like our extended family, like he used to support a lot of people. So the day that we woke up and he was not there.
Was he supporting other wives, Ama? Jackie, he used to support other people. You guys, who are these people?
You guys, you cannot tell me anything. You guys, let me tell you, your dad had 22 children.
Jackie, our other people ndio tunataka kujua ni nani alikuwa na support.
Okay, both our dads were polygamous too, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because I have seven siblings. Yeah, and I think I have 3 or 4 step siblings, but I don't shout out to them. I don't see them as step because we grew up together and all that. But when that happened, like everything just went downwards. Everything spiraled because he was the one taking care of everything. I'm here in Nairobi, I'm in uni. He was paying my rent, he was paying my fee, he was sending that pocket money, and then you wake up one day and that support is not there. And also just him being a present father. My dad used to call me every other day. Okay. Sometimes I used to get bored. I'm like, Humze. But now I miss that. I'm like, sometimes I still have his number on my phone because you never delete it. Yeah, but so wacha kusema hoyo kandi. You guys wewe unasema kitu sana alafu mzee anakuambia haya sawa bas. You guys unaweza anza kububujikwa na machozi hapa.
You can cry.
But like he used to call me and nilikuwa nachokanga na yeye niko like
it was this my dad calling all the time. And then they used to, I remember his first question was uko wapi? I'm like, what does that got to do with the answer of the question? Like uko wapi? Like the next question will be something like how is work? Sasa hii swali ya uko wapi inatoka wapi tena man?
I think that's the only way they knew how to show their love.
So how did you survive though if he was paying your fees? Like did you have another father figure who stepped up?
Not really, but I think my uncles really came through for me. I had one who was paying my rent, I had one who was paying my fee. I think ilifika pahali just harambe tu basically, So this month I called this guy, I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to do an exam. Honestly,
I'm laughing, but
it's okay. It became like I became the responsibility of the whole family, and lucky for me, at least I was doing something. I was in Nairobi studying to become an engineer.
Okay.
So someone like that, I'm always mwacha hivyo. But I imagine if I was just chilling at home, I don't think anyone would want to support me at all.
And many guys are in that situation. But it, the reason I'm so curious about this is because even me being a 37-year-old. and losing my dad, it had a lot of impacts in my life.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying, he used to call me all the time. He used to be, he was like in my corner. You know, the one person who, if anything is happening to you, he'll show up.
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of policemen in maandamano, he'll be there.
Yeah.
If your boss decides, bana, huyu jamaa analeta mchezo kazi, like he was the type of guy who would just come and speak to anyone just to make sure that you're okay. You know, and that's something I really miss. I've not had the opportunity of being that to someone else.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You see how it feels.
No, nimejaribu lakini bado sijafaulu bado.
Yeah.
But just the thought of being a younger person without a father figure, you know, sometimes it's fate, like you had a parent and then they pass on, or sometimes it's just a guy who's abandoned his responsibility. There's a friend of mine who used to call them spam donor.
Sasa you unasema the deadbeats sasa unaongelea. So someone who has a kid and then they decide they do not want to be associated.
I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious. There's a friend of mine, I hope he's not listening. Alikuwa anapiga picha akiwa in very nice destinations.
Yeah.
Ako hapo Seychelles. The other time was in very weird places. Guam.
Yeah.
Ushaitaka kwenda Guam.
Kazakhstan.
So he's there taking selfies.
Yeah.
And yet I happen to know his baby mama. And the guy had no interest in knowing. He had a son.
Yeah.
He has a son. He had no interest totally.
Yeah.
And he just live his life normally.
Yeah.
And if you're listening out there, I'm not judging you, although I am. But like I'm wondering aloud. And you guys can wonder with me too, with that hashtag the wind down.
Yeah.
Like, how is it that you can have a whole human being somewhere, live your life normally, in Guam, piga picha, na ulale usiku wa manane till morning, without wondering how is this person doing, you know, where are they, like, if they do they look like me,
are they eating,
masikio zake ni kama zangu, kama ni mimi, like are they handsome like me, like, you know, anavanga miwani kali, you know, like such things.
I think the way you bring it up, and I realize that once you were talking about your dad and the way like he was that guy for you. I think my dad was also that guy. Like whenever, I remember there was a time I was arrested, man, and my dad was like, cool, just pay a fund simu. I don't know alimuongelesha kikale gani, but I was released. You know, he was that guy. And it brings me to the point that I feel like the right dads are like superheroes, man. So I don't feel like not anyone who has a kid is a father. You know, like those guys who are like absent fathers or deadbeats father, I don't think we should consider even calling them fathers, you know. Okay, you fathered someone, you brought life into this earth, but being called a dad or a father is just more than that.
It's a verb, right?
Yeah, it's you taking responsibility. It's you being there. There's a lot that goes on into you being called a father or a dad. You know, so that's why when, you know, I see these people, I'm like, what is the reasoning? Like you have someone and like this is your kid, bro, it's your kid, and you just go and first of all there are some who just go and start another family, okay? So you just leave this family and then you go and start another one.
Do you I'll play devil's advocate here and just try to indulge that thought. Like what do you think the thought process is for an individual who has decided to become a deadbeat, right? For an individual who knows they have that. I had this story about this guy who had, you know, he was struggling with work over here in Nairobi. You know, jobs were coming far and in between. His wife was doing well, but he wasn't doing so well. So he decided, I'm suffering over here with my children. I see them every day. You know, when they see me nikiingia kwa nyuma, daddy, lakini daddy hana kitu kwa mfuko.
But daddy yako
sasa ako lakini hana ene. So you've said this being a father. You've said it's a verb, right? So what he did was Paris. You know, just secretly. And then one day he was just chilling with his family over there in the living room.
You're throwing the toys like this. Check. They don't know it's the last time.
So he announced, look, man, I am heading to Paris because I'm going there to look for opportunity because I'm tired of being here and not being able to provide. All right? So I was asking myself the question, like, is it better for my dad to be around and not be able to provide? Or is it better for him to go to Paris, get that money, be able to send it back, and have my mom pay my school fees.
Yeah.
But now, it's like being between a rock and a hard place.
I don't think that's a conundrum, actually. Because it's actually, listen. Let me give you a hypothetical. You're saying it's between you not eating every day, you not going to school and all that. But
okay,
your dad
not like
is
they
around.
were starving though.
Yeah, they're okay, but their dad is around.
Yes.
I think that's a better scenario than someone who has a kid and they don't take any responsibility. When I say that is a verb, I meant, it's much more than just being called a father. It's about you taking up the responsibility. So for that guy who went to Paris, he had no other option. He decided to go there, and I think that was very commendable of him, because if he was sending money back to his kids, I'm sure even if their kids were not seeing him day to day, I mean, they were living pretty comfortably, And I see this a lot. You find people who have rich parents, and they always complain, my dad is rich and all that, I'm driving a Mercedes Benz and everything, but how much I'm struggling because I'm not seeing my dad. Okay, I get it, but I'm like, at least ako hapo, at least antuma kitu. But even if you don't get to see him every day.
But is that what you want out of your life? Do you want to live a life of
but life is not ideal.
I'm not saying it's ideal.
Yeah.
But what I threw in there when you were speaking was, this guy, it's not like they were starving.
Okay.
It's just that they were not living on the level which he thought they should live.
Yeah.
Right. That's when he decided, I'm gonna go to this and the other country. And I'm saying that appreciating the fact that there are many people in other countries.
Yeah.
There are many people in Qatar, in Dubai,
yeah.
in scattered all over the planet.
Yeah.
And they're just there to provide for their children.
Yeah.
But now my question is, what impact does this have on these children who they leave behind?
Okay.
Is it better to have a more modest lifestyle but have your parents around? Because now you'll have memories of your dad taking you to Uhuru Park for
ice cream and
something to eat. Yeah. You'll have memories of him walking you down the road, hand in hand.
Yeah.
But if they're gone and just sending money, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a conundrum.
I'd choose the Mercedes, honestly. I'll create memories in that Mercedes, Ben. Honestly, I feel if you can give your child a better life, because my dad, as much as he was a present dad and all that, I was not seeing him every day. My dad would go months. He'll come to Nairobi and do business and all that. He was not always constantly there. Sometimes he had to go to and do job where and send money back home. But that simple act of providing let me know that he was there. He thinks about me. So me, I think both of them are okay, because the dad is still there some way. The issue is here, if the dad is not there at all.
Yeah.
What are the repercussions? Because honestly, living without a dad, it has an impact. Without not even a dad, just living without a consistent male figure at home.
We are discussing life without him when dad ain't there. That is poster there with our hot topic, and under that poster you can share what you think.
Yeah.
All right, now Bash, we have to bring in an angle which I think is very important. There's a lady I know who lost her husband.
Okay.
So for all these years, she's been basically the mother and the father to this child.
Okay.
And I feel like we've not appreciated these ladies enough, because there are people who some, maybe the husband didn't die, maybe just became a deadbeat.
Yeah.
And then he left. So now they have to come up with a system where they are providing both roles to this parent. So I find I wanted to take a moment just to shout them out.
Yeah.
Like the single mothers out there who are listening to this show, and they're providing both of these roles to these kids.
Yeah.
There was one I actually tried back in the day. Nilikuwa najaribu kuona kama itaingiana.
Umejaribu. In Nairobi umejaribu wenyewe. I'll never fault you for lack of trying. Wenyewe tunaitwa effort, kijana umekelea.
So one of the things that I wanted us to delve in as we're discussing this conversation is how if you are a single mom,
yeah,
or if you're a single dad, because now they are single dads.
Yeah.
There's a very close friend of mine. Leonard Toboa series.
I hope he's not listening. You have to post kila pali. Go and look at us X and Instagram. And if you're in Facebook, the handle is Radio Generation. But I hope Amtaskia, my close friends.
No, it's the wind down guy. It's just 3 people. Me, you, and the person who's listening. So Ujama, this guy just went home one day, all right, and found baby Amanda. Like she
amefunga virago akaishia.
Amefunga virago. Akaacha a few bags hapa na pale, lakini akaacha note akasema nimeenda. So jamaa akaacha akampigia simu akamwambia, what are you doing? But these children of ours are only 4 years old. Why would you just be running away, leaving them with me? See, I don't have the even natural capabilities to take care of this toy.
Sijui hata nitaanzia wapi.
Sasa madam akamwambia, wewe soma Biblia. At read the Bible, it will encourage you. Can you imagine?
It will comfort you.
Can you imagine, you guy?
That's evil.
So I was wondering, just as a segue of just to sidetrack this story a little. When do you think? How soon do you think you should introduce your partner to this to your toys? Madam mwenye nilikuwa nakwambia nilikuwa najaribu kuongelesha. She was very strict on that.
Also she had a toy.
Yeah, she had a toy. So she was like, hey, me, I don't want you to meet my toy because sijui kama utakuwa hapa next week.
I think so, because I've had experiences when you interact with some of these single mothers, and you go there and they have a kid, and after one day wanakuita uncle.
But I was really willing to be uncle.
You wanted to be uncle?
Iga nilienda nikanunua vitabu hapo Sarit Center iga. Sijui Ladybird books nani zinaitwaje, Tom Thumb,
the father that stepped up.
You guys, Alice in Wonderland.
But me, I understand her concerns, because if you imagine, I'm sure you're not the first man she's interacted with, after the sudden passing of the husband. She's obviously been in the market and she's tried to find a partner. But can you imagine if your kid has seen like so many uncles in a span of 1 year? That's very confusing to the kid. So now even when a fundi comes to the house, anamuita uncle, because now there are just so many male figures in the house. So me, I actually understand where she's coming from, Saizi, by the way.
So I think basically when dad ain't there, one of the sacrifices you have to make is know that you live with those kids for quite a while, all right, without introducing other parties. There is a guy who lost his partner, and he was basically the dad to his siblings. All right, because also his parents were long gone. And he was crying as he was sharing a story about how he had to even sacrifice his university life. Like he stopped going to Campo. He had to sacrifice even dating somewhere else so that he can just direct that money to this other his siblings. All right, and the impact of that was the way he was crying while sharing that story. Like they ended up, both of them were weeping because
that story.
So I think you were there, right?
I was there.
So they were weeping and like, oh my god,
I was really that was sad. It was sad but also sweet. I decided to sacrifice my formative years, like your life in Kampong, that's when you're supposed to experiment, have fun, see the world, but you decide, I have these siblings who I love so much. Let me sacrifice all this fun and just become their father and their mother and just pay their fees and make sure that they have a comfortable life.
But I feel like we don't appreciate those sacrifices enough. We don't have to sacrifice. We don't appreciate, for example, you who's lost your dad at the age of 21. I don't know if you've ever just called your mom and just told her, man, thank you for these 7 years kabla nipate kazi ya Radio Generation. Mazee nimeumia huko nje kwa streets. And I just want to thank you for the years that umenishikilia all this time. I don't think we do that enough.
Shout out to my mom, mazee alishikilia sana, honestly. And I think women, by the way, you guys are very strong, man, especially when it comes to family matters. Like you guys really hold it down, man. So Emmanuel, I have another because me, as you said, your father died sadly when you were 37.
Yeah.
Maybe my father died when I was 21, and those were my formative years. Those were the years where I was transitioning from being a kid, from being a boy to being a man. And the lack of having a strong father figure in my life, I think like it had a very big impact, because I meet a lot of my friends who still have their dads. And even back then when I was in Campo, a lot of my friends still had their dads. They were still talking to their dads. They had someone like a strong male figure to look up to, someone to guide them. Me, I didn't have that. And because of that, I found myself doing a lot of silly stuff. I didn't have any direction. I didn't have anyone to guide me, you see. And it brings back to the single mom matter. Like there are those that do an amazing job, and I'm not faulting them, but there are also some, when you go and see like a single mom, like when you see the kiddo, you'll know that they are raised by a single mom, because they are cuddled. There's no male strong figure there to like guide them. Like, have you ever seen how your dad used to come home and you guys scatter? Like, there was that presence. So you find that the kiddo is just living life la vida loca. There's no repercussions for anything. Yeah,
my dad had a specific chair.
Yeah,
alikuwa na throne. Ukiingia
so alikuwa na tawala.
So ukiingia kwa nyumba, tulikuwa naishi hapo Mada, so ukiingia kwa nyumba hivi, on your right, there used to be I can even see it in my mind. So there was a big chair there. Ilikuwa ya mbao, because he had back problems. So angekalia sofa, you guys. So alikuwa anakalia kiti, and then he used to, my dad was a professor. He was a literature professor.
Shout
Professor Chris Wanjara.
Shout out to him.
He guy was a serious guy. So alikuwa, he had like in the house he had like over 500 books. So he'd go to the bedroom from his throne. So he used to appear from time to time
without warning.
So akitoka job, first I have to go downstairs, grab his bags and take them back to the house. And then he'd go to the bedroom. So he had a desk in his bedroom. His bedroom was full of books. Like if my mom wasn't around for 3 days, you were everywhere.
Like a pile of books.
Everywhere. And then ukiguza hiyo kitabu atajua. Atasema, oh, go and Emmanuel, can you go and get for me the book? Just ignore the blanket. And you'll see a book over there by Chinua Achebe.
So he was always reading, huh?
Yeah, he was always reading. But now at exactly 7:00, alikuwa anatokea sasa kusoma news.
Kusoma ama watch?
No, watch, sorry. Alikuwa anatokea
Ziana mtu anasoma TV. Buda yako ni mnoma, bro.
On radio ndio nikakuwa confused kidogo. So he'd come out, he'd watch the news, and then at around 7:15 he goes back to his room, and then he comes back again at 9 to watch the news again. And then he'd come back. Those days there used to be 11:00 news. So anatokea again at 11. And at that time he'd be a bit, alikuwa anaeka news but analala. But ukichange channel anamka. They're like, "Wait, man, what is your story? Unalala because me I want to watch a movie." Nataka watch weekend movie.
Movie gani unataka watch 11 usiku hiyo?
But see, kuna weekend movie, you guys.
Box office.
Okay. So, like, you're right. His presence there used to bring some sort of
order. Simple. Yeah. Like as much as we grow up and we're like, he was harsh and everything. Like just having that discipline, I think inasaidia sana. So I was telling you, me when he died, it was when I was transitioning. Like I needed that guidance because I was coming from being a man, like a boy to a man. Like I needed that guidance, So I feel like not having that present father in your life, there's obviously gonna be an issue. Like, okay, I'm not saying you're gonna be successful, and there's actually, I was saying this on Twitter actually, like there's talk, I don't know if it's a study or statistics, but you see these guys who grow up without a dad, like they end up being great men. Have you ever seen that? And I think even in
some of
them in comedy circles, I'm not saying that you could generalize, but even make jokes about that. We're like, I can tell you have a present father because you ended up mediocre, because in the flip side of it, it forces you to work hard, and you have that drive. But for majority of the people, not having a dad, like really, it messes with your psyche.
So now my question is, I am at home listening to this show, and I don't have a dad.
Okay.
So you're saying the presence of a dad, brings in some order.
Yeah.
I'm imagining. I feel like you can get a substitute. All right, like you can get something called a father figure.
Yeah.
All right, someone who inspires you. Someone like me when I was growing up, there was this guy called okay, my dad was around, but there was this guy called Miles Monroe I used to really like. So I used to watch his stuff, you know. I think I had you know, people in every area that I felt was lacking in my life. I'd use those guys. Now that my dad is not around, and I'm very conscious of that fact, I have older people who I interact with.
Okay.
I say in your life you have to have different groups of friends. You should have friends who you look up to.
Okay.
All right. And by friends, I'm including these father figures. Someone who you look up to. Someone who's older, someone who's gone beyond. And sometimes this person might not be very successful financially. But because they've been older for years, there's something they know. Because they've been on the planet for this long time, so there's something that you can glean from them. I have a group of older friends who I hang out with every evening when I get time. Every weekend I sit down, I listen to them, and it's a large group of guys who are in they're approaching their 70s, and I just sit and I just listen. I don't try to kuambia mimi najua hata mimi najua. So and they're always throwing guidance my way. They're like, "Come on, Emmanuel, I think you should do this." Juzi walikuwa wananiambia, "Emmanuel, mtoto unamleta lini? You cannot sit with us here na una mtoto. No, talk hapa. Go away from here."
You are disrespecting them, mzee bana.
How can you talk here na hata hauna? No, go away.
Wewe mbona unakwanga
light note
kama una mtoto wezi changia point.
So you guys, you're scared. So you have to seek out these people. I feel, and I'm not trying to be instructive, I'm just sharing now that I have a mic. I feel like another thing you should have is a friend who's your peer. So you have this older person, and then you also have your peer. In the case of this story, we're talking about the dad who went there. Maybe like the lady I was telling you about earlier has some male friends who are responsible, and once in a while, you know, you have to audit who these people are, because they're crazy people out there. So once in a while, these guys, they come, they pick the son, you know, they go out and hang out for the whole day, you know, and this is an arrangement supervised by the mom. And it actually helps to, you know, guide this boy, because it's a boy, guide this boy to get to know, you know, how to be a dude, you know, how it is to have a man around. So I think there's some substitutes which you can use just to help, you know, just bridge that gap.
I do believe that, and I feel like now there's the flip side of it, and it's like you had a kid with someone, and that guy decides to abscond on his responsibilities, and because of that one interaction, he decides to hate all men. So your kid never actually gets to interact with any man in his entire life, you know, like not even as you've said, as a father figure, you know, not even casually someone just to look up to, you know, someone to aspire to be like you are everything. And I'm not saying you won't do a good job, but I just feel like psychologically that kid will lack something, you know, and even at a big age. And I was saying that personally because I had a dad and he died at a time where I needed guidance and I needed that direction. So I didn't have the knowledge that you had, that let me choose someone who's not my dad but has the same experience and just look up to them. I was not. See, you have to decide.
Unaitwaje wewe? No, nimekuchoose. No, nimesikia kwa wind down, choose somebody.
You audit. No, naitisha interview kwanza you guys. So what is your name and why should I choose you as my father figure?
No, my dad died. So I'm choosing you, Mazi. No, but I'm just kidding, Mazi. I get what you're saying. But what do you think you lack the most, though?
I think I lack that, you know, that structure, and like I lived very consequence free at that time, because as much as I love my mother and all that, like, you know, like she was the soft person, you know, like I didn't feel like she could dirty. And at that age, you know, I was bigger, I was knee, like there was not that akwa na hiyo fear ya we uko wapi unafanya, you know, like my mom would call me and be like, hey, we unafanya nini, like so mother aniambia nini. So, but if it was my dad, you know, he would like there was some fear into that, you know.
How did you cope? Because I know many guys who like I have a friend of mine who lost his mom. And one of the things that happened to him is he became very angry. He became a very angry man. So I'm just imagining, because losing a parent goes both ways. You could end up being very bitter at life. so you're angry all the time. You don't know what you're angry at.
Yeah.
Actually, come to think of it, there's also another friend of mine who also lost, he never knew his dad, and he was a very angry guy.
Yeah.
He was a very, and it was interesting because alikuwa mfupi. Alikuwa mfupi lakini alikuwa anataka kuvunja kila mtu kwa barabara. Cheki sitakangi ujinga, mimi nitakuvunja.
Kwani Jodi mfupi alikuwa anafaa kuwa down to earth. Hao ndio uchemka haraka baby.
Cheki pole bas.
Shout out to our short kings by the way. Emmanuel si ati wewe ni mrefu pia. Unafaa uite your peers.
Nilikuwa mfupi, nilikuwa mrefu kuliko boys.
Basi alikuwa mfupi sana.
But I think one of the unsung things that we don't do around here is when we go through tragedy.
Yeah.
Like me losing my dad at 37, you losing yours at 21.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things we've never embraced on this side of the Sahara is going for therapy.
Have you gone to therapy?
No, man.
Okay. Listen,
but that's a problem.
Me, I'm not against it, honestly, because I feel like I have a lot of issues, and I do agree. And you can see them, like some of these traumas that I have, like they manifest themselves in my life because something will happen to you and the way you react. I think you can always judge if someone has trauma by the way they react to situations. If you are very reactive, it means you have a lot of triggers, and those triggers are tied to traumas. So if I get a chance, like if after this show someone calls me and tells me, hey, listen, me, I'm a therapist and I'm ready to listen to your me, I'll show up and I have a lot to share. But now what happened, Emmanuel? And
I feel like in our culture we think therapy is for weak people.
You asked me how I coped, and I think the way I did it after doing all those damn silly stuff, when I started now gaining, my frontal lobe, as I told you, because you don't really develop fully as a man until you get around 25 there, when I regained full control of my life.
Tell me about that frontal lobe thing.
So that frontal lobe thing is, as you develop, even after 18 years old, even if you're 23, at around 25 is when your mind gets fully developed. So that frontal lobe allows you to make some of these critical decisions. That's why you find, especially, I don't know about women, but for men specifically, at that age, that's when you'll find someone starting to get their stuff together. They'll find them getting a job, they start going to the gym, they'll start working hard at whatever they're doing, because now you've gained that particular foresight, So when that happened, I just started to, since life imeamua kuchukua mbuyu wangu, wacha nijitegemee. And I think up to now I still have that. Like it's very hard for me to ask for help, because I still, as much as my mom was there, she was also struggling. So my first thing was, let me remove my responsibility from my mom, like nisikue mzigo yake. So I decided to be my own man. And that kujitegemea. And I think it really shattered me in terms like psychologically, because now I can't ever take help from anyone. I can't be vulnerable and be like, hey man, unajua. So I always feel like I have to solve everything myself. So that's how not having him impacted me.
Which I don't think is a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
One of the things that I love about my career so far, because apart from doing this radio thing, we are also stand-up comedians. And one of the things that happens in our stand-up comic scene is we are very, very vulnerable in regard to the things that we talk about on stage. So I can come over here in front, with all these thousands of people listening and watching, and I can say, man, I cried last night because I was missing my old man.
Like last night, these are an example.
But I tell you what happens to me. Sasa zingine mazee nikienda church nione hiyo place yenye alikuwa amekalia hapo hivyo like alikuwa ameekwa kabla tumpeleke ushago.
Oh, by the way, you guys are lunges. So ali display you hapo. My dad was married on the same day. And like what, like to be a kicker for me psychologically, I'm the one who discovered him. Like I'm the one who found him dead. So I still have that.
You guy.
I need that therapy, guy.
You need it. You guy, if you're listening and you're a therapist, you need to call us. There's somebody here who needs. No, but that's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. And I think it was around the same time as I started doing comedy. And I think the comedy community really helped. you know, because I didn't have anyone in Nairobi, but finally I have, you know, somewhere to go. I have people to talk to. You know, it almost like a family. Yeah, so shout out to the comedy community, man. You guys really held it up for me.
Man, shout out to you, man, and sorry for that rough experience. Look, we are discussing life without him when dad ain't there. I'm seeing some feedback over here, which I'm going to start getting into on when we get to the top of the hour. My friend Ribia has said something about therapy. It says therapy for men doesn't work as much, though.
Yeah.
Men learn from doing activities. Women benefit more from therapy. And he's still typing it.
I think I'm a link WhatsApp yake kwa laptop.
You guy.
Umzana kutext na kwat.
You guy. Wait, Rabia, don't stop typing. We're going to get into this feedback when we get to the top of the hour. We're just going to go, you know, through the feedback very, very thoroughly. Yeah. And make sure we have everyone's, as much as we can, you know, as much as time allows. Bash, what do you think of these dads who are deadbeats? Yeah. And then they just decide to come back? Me, I'm over here, radio generation, nimesikia ingoma. I mean, ati ingoma, hii conversation. Yeah. He open mic. So I'm here, I hear your take. Yeah. You know, I hear my take. Yeah. I hear the feedback take, which we're going to go through. Use that hashtag, the wind down, by the way, for feedback. And then I decide I've been a horrible man. Let me go back. I feel just to open the floor. No, you open the floor before I tell you what I feel. Yeah. I'll be hogging.
So usually what happens, and I think I see this a lot in popular culture, is your dad is not around when you guys are struggling. But finally your mom has struggled, amekupeleka shule, amenini, and then we're through thick and thin, mazee, umeanza ukapata kajobo pahali, ama you become famous. Like a lot of famous people, their dads come back after now they've become famous and successful.
Yeah, there is Kevin Hart, I think.
Yeah. But Kevin Hart's dad was still there. He was just you know, into drugs and all that, but he was basically
he wasn't a father.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't a present father. Check it, present fatherhood.
So there's that, you know, when they see that now you're successful and you're making money, they want some of that. And there's that when, and you know, now they go, and then after a couple of years of thinking and pondering about their mistakes, they're like, hey, you know, I did these guys wrong. These guys are my family. Let me go back and repent.
I feel like there's an angle which we are missing, and I it's good I've remembered before he gets to the top of the hour. Yeah, there are some dads who maybe are not there. And it's not because they don't want to be there. Maybe walikosana vibaya sana na mama.
So your story, baby mama?
Not even baby mama, maybe your wife.
Oh, okay. Sasa
maybe
most of it is like that.
I don't know, but I'm just highlighting this instance. Yeah. I'm saying sometimes you kosana vibaya sana with your partner. Yeah. Like I know someone who's going through a horrible divorce right now. Yeah. They are fighting. Like I really wonder how you can turn from lovers who even produce human beings, and you know how these human beings are created, to people who are mnaitiana mapolisi. So they are at that level. Yo ya akifanya kitu atakuwa ndani. Sasa zingine anakuanga na search warrant. Arrest warrant. Take it, arrest warrant. So sometimes you kosana to a level where yes, you want to be with your partner in the life of your children, but yo kukosana, it's just better you just go away. Wait for these children to get to 18 years and hopefully they'll give you a chance to tell your story to them. They'll tell you, hey, by the Mimi, to be honest, it's not that I didn't want to be in your life. I wanted to and I tried to. But hii marriage yetu mazi tulikuwa tunapigana vibaya sana. I decided to go.
So that is what happened. But you know what the wife is telling the kids? So.
That is now another problem. All right? Because now you don't know radio station gani.
You guys, the mom is telling the kids how you are the worst human being to ever walk this earth. Hey, utachomewa bro. Before radio say your side of the story, you guys, your kiddos will be looking at you like the devil.
But I think if you're a parent out there and you're listening, maybe we can change lives today by just encouraging you at least. If at all you can keep things civil for the sake of the kids. Yeah. Because both of you are important. Yeah. Like you are important in the life of the kids and the dad is also important in the life of the kids. So you put your egos aside. Yeah. and you say we're gonna try and keep this thing civil, just so that these toys have the presence of both their parents in their lives.
I think it comes to a point where the hate for you is more than the love for my children. Yani nakuchukia zaidi kuliko vile napenda watoto wangu, bro. Ikishafika hapo wenyewe ndo unapewa search warrant. No, mshike tu.
Cheki, unalia sahi but uta understand in the future. Ai, you get tunacheka lakini ni kubaya sana kuenjoy. What if somebody just what if you're a father to your kids?
Yeah.
But now later on you discover maze, kumbe they weren't your kids, Joe.
I think they're still your kids, because listen, you've been raising these kids for 18 years. You changed their diapers, you paid for their fees. You saw them walking for the first time.
But maskio na fanana na zako, you guy.
Achana na hiyo.
Hizi maskio na kakaza Bashir.
No, bro. You guy, umtoi venye alianza kuongea alisema baba. You guys, you have pictures at every stage na umtoi. You think hata kama si wako utamwangalia hivi and then you just remove all those experiences and love. Ati sasa juu si mtoi wako uanze tu sasa simpendi sasa juu si wangu, you guys. I think I'm not talking from experience. I've never experienced this. I know people are going through it, but it's going to be very hard for you to look at that child differently, although it's not yours.
Yeah, but it's okay. We're laughing about it here, but it's actually a problem. There was this story. I was hanging out with some guy once.
Yeah.
So this guy is a doctor who deals with IVF, in vitro fertilization.
Yeah.
So he was hanging out with this lady. So this lady was saying her husband has decided to go and marry another woman. Okay. So she was like, hey, why are you going to marry? Then he said they are growing older and he feels like hawa watoto watakuwa kubwa and labda wanaweza muacha peke yake akue, because the lady couldn't get any more children. She was already past menopause.
Okay.
So this lady is like, no, I don't think you should do that. Baba nani. Let's just live. I'm going to be there for you. I'm like, no way. So he goes on with the hooking up with this new lady. Fast forward, sasa wanajaribu kupata mtoto. And they can't. So the lady decides, all right, let me go check and see maybe the problem is with me. Akaenda akacheck, akapata her eggs are hata zinaweza jihatch.
You guys, they don't need any help.
Ukinunua incubator.
You guys,
in 21 days.
It's already charged.
So what happens next? So this guy realizes, Allah, maze,
kumbe shida ni mimi.
Shida ni mimi, but he has 6 children with that other original wife.
Hey, that is a miracle, no?
So kufanya hesabu, kufumba na kufumbua.
The Lord has done it again.
Kumbe there was someone said, the wife decided, hey, huyu jamaa hizi kazi.
Yeah.
I'll just go and get someone else to do the job. But this guy, I'll just let him think he's a dad.
But wasn't he happy for that time that he did not know those kids were not his? I think, guys, we're looking at this in the wrong angle. Yes, our toisi wako, but did they make you happy? Didn't you feel like a father? Didn't you throw them in the air and be proud, a proud father? Uliwapeleka hadi shule surely. Alafu unataka kusema hadi sasa hadi jusi wako. Sasa I need to erase all the memories.
Damu ambayo iko ndani yake si yangu bana.
You are enjoying life. Ulikuwa huko baze, you changed your life because of those kids, You guys stopped hanging out with the boys. You became a serious man. You started providing for 6 children. Hata kama si wako. They changed you as a man, Maze, and I think you should remember that.
Thank God LL Cool B, Maze, for those encouraging words. I hope that guy is listening. There's so much feedback coming through. Some guys are sending feedback directly to my WhatsApp inbox. If you don't have my number, which I can't share on the air because
for obvious reasons.
Because sasa niko na kazi. Unajua kitambo ningeshare tu. But now unajua mimi nimekuwa an important man in society. So if you don't have my number, you can use that hashtag the wind down just to tell us what you think. You can go to the Radio Generation page on X, Radio Gen KE, follow it, and then just scroll down a little, and I think you'll see a poster right there, and you'll be able to see a place where you can just comment your feedback on the conversation that we're having. Not only can you comment on the conversation, you could also tell us where you're listening from. If you're listening from London, like our other brother who's listening from London, just
Stratham.
Yes, Stratham. If you're listening from Apo Zimbabwe, or if you're listening from Cape Town, kuna pali panaitwa Camps Bay. If you're listening Apo Camps Bay, labda you're there looking for your dad.
Yeah. Iga, unajua
mama yako alikwambia kwa South Africa.
Unajua penye Ole Kasasi iko.
Iko wapi?
Rongai, ika uko Rongai na unasikiliza. Tafadhali tuma salamu pia you guys. Rongai pia ni diaspora.
Yes.
Watu wetu wa mbali.
And let's not forget the people who are in the very leafy suburbs of Kitengela. Kama umesucceed in life na ukaamua unaenda kuishi Kitengela. Kama mimi. Just tell us which part of Kitengela.
Niko nakwambia leo Kitengela ni 90% guns, alafu nini watu wa kawaida ni 10%. Kitengela iko na maguns bro. Every day kuna maandamano mimi niko like sio wanatoka wapi bro?
You guys Kitengela tumekasirika sana na how things are. Tunaanza maandamano yetu at midnight. You guys polisi wanatupata kwa barabara you guys. Cheki sisi baba zetu walitoroka, sasa tumekasirika sana with society.
Sawa, lifi suburbs ulisema. Sita kupinga. Ila I won't encourage any of you mwende land of the goons.
But what was happening hapo Naivasha Road?
Hey, you guys also I think people are looting actually. So people are looting across here Naivasha Road towards Kawangware. So I think they were just trying to disperse those particular goons. Yeah.
Was it working?
I think by the way, like shots were ringing bro for like 3 hours straight. Mimi nilikuwa hapo nasikia tu marisasi. I thought I was in Iran. You guys like continuous like okay, I think niseme douche nyao but
I think what we should do Bashir is that when we come back, one of the things I want to do is I want to appreciate all the dads who decided to stay, right? Just hang around and be dads. I feel like we don't appreciate such people a lot, and over here on this very very first show of the Wind Down, we just want to dedicate all the dads who are listening and all the moms who have been forced to play that role. We just want to shout out to you, and for you who are like us right here in the studio, let's be there for each other. Let's share these things without shame, and I feel like we're just gonna be together and form one big group of love. All right, see you.